So for our dive on this trip, we hooked up with Sunset Divers in Grand Cayman, and we met with them at 7:30 in the morning and headed out to Polson's Wreck, which is right by Marty's Wall. The regulator that I was using on this dive is a regulator that Cressi came out with not too long ago, and it's called the Master Cromo. It has a revolving head, which is a very nice feature. It's also very lightweight, which is something that I like, and it was extremely easy for me to breathe out of in deep and in shallow water. Felt real good in my mouth, and it's a regulator that I'm going to start using on a regular basis now. The wreck wasn't a very big wreck. It was actually a really small wreck, but it had some nice coral growth on it and had some cool horse-eyed jacks that were swimming around it. And horse-eyed jacks are always cool to see on a wreck because, you know, they're very curious. They'll come real close to you and check you out. Sometimes they'll start circling around you and things. So we checked out the jacks a little bit. There was a few other small fish on the wreck, but nothing spectacular, but it was a neat little wreck. But the main reason we stopped there is because right behind it was a nice wall dive. So we made our way across that sand and we saw several fish on the sand between the wreck and the wall. We saw a really nice hogfish that was kind of rummaging through the sand looking for something to eat. So after checking out that hogfish and that mutton snapper, we moved a little closer to the wall and we started coming up on this reef that led to the wall, and the reef was just, in my opinion, absolutely gorgeous. There were little tropical fish all over it. There were big sea fans and coral, and again, there were a lot of mutton snapper on that reef, which is something I love seeing because I'm a fisherman. So I like seeing the bigger fish. I like seeing the big snapper and the big grouper. And I know a lot of people like those little colorful tropical fish, and they are neat to see too, but those bigger fish just turn me on. That's what I want to see when I'm diving. And so to get the opportunity to swim with some of those bigger mutton snapper was really cool.
We got to do a wall dive here in the Cayman Islands, and what I think it's pretty neat is that how colorful the dive was. We saw tons of life. We saw a turtle. We actually had like a mutton snapper, a couple mutton snapper follow us around, a good sized one actually, tiger grouper, other smaller types of grouper, and just tons of tropical fish. It was a really cool dive.
We also saw a couple really nice French angelfish there. There was a handful of parrotfish that we saw, and also quite a few damsels. That spot was loaded with little damsels on all of the corals that were there. So overall, it was a really nice dive. It was definitely a dive that I would want to do again.